Hey, everybody.
Hi there. Let's see.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name. Oh,
Becky, if you don't mind my asking, when is the construction on the culvert going to start, if you know?
I do not know. And the reason I do not know is because National Grid has failed to perform the one task they were requested to do. So they received the concrete structures. There's a meeting on Monday morning between the parties to get approval and the electrician to actually do the work that's holding up the project. So we hope that they will complete the work speedily as soon as there's agreement next Monday.
Next Monday, okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Hey, looks like we have the full group here, all 7. Amazing considering all the back and forth. Again, I apologize for a mix-up. I usually I update the calendar on Friday. And with Labor Day, that doesn't give us enough time to do a Tuesday meeting. So I've learned. So I need to make sure to get the agenda in a day early during those holiday weeks. But thanks for being flexible. We'll call a meeting order. Okay. All right. Do we want to start? Let's see, what do we have? We've got review minutes from our August 10th meeting. AJ sent us those minutes some time ago. Any changes, adjustments?
I never got those minutes.
Yeah, they were sent out, Jim, I don't know, a week
Well-
and a half ago.
Well, I'll look again, but
I'll give you the date. Hang on one second.
the last one was, the last one I got was for, the July meeting. But that's July 14th. I have those.
that was me.
August 19th.
I know. August 19th is when you sent it? Okay. Let me look.
Gotta see mine.
And let's see. I think Susie had sent me a correction that I already made. I think it was just the date was mislabeled. Yeah, so that's fixed now.
This is, so, yeah, you had July 14th in the minutes?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
updated that to August 10th?
Oh,
I did,
Oh,
yeah. That's
okay.
that's probably confusion, Jim. Sorry about that.
Okay.
That's why I thought it was July.
Yeah, no,
meeting.
I was confused
I
the
forgot
same
about
way.
that.
I figured it
Yeah,
out.
the file name I think was correct, but I hadn't updated the header.
The file name was correct. Okay. I have two pieces to look at. On number 6, where it says committee updates, I was confused when the word window was used in the meeting because those are the sliding doors.
Yeah.
Is that right? So I think it should say sliders there, or sliding doors.
You're absolutely right. Okay. Did you have another thing, Susie?
Yeah, the other thing is, because of time and being an old person, I think that this was the meeting that I volunteered to draft the FinCom SB joint letter, but it's not in the minutes and I don't really remember how that came about.
Was that the letter related to the regional assessment?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
So I guess it goes under, it was when we were working on the FinCom agenda items worksheet update. As we got towards the bottom of that, we talked about putting the regional assessment on that list of agenda items, and that's when I volunteered. So I believe it was at this meeting that happened, but
I think you must be right because I remember it, and I was absent at the meeting.
Okay,
before.
all right, so,
I think it would have to have been this meeting, so I must have just. I
Right.
got engaged in the conversation and stopped taking minutes there, so
Right.
I'll add an
Okay.
item, Susie Mosier volunteers to draft a letter to the Amherst Regional School Committee, is that?
yeah, yep,
Um, what should we say, advocating or presenting Shutesbury's.
it was a nudge to get them to be talking about what their plan was,
Right,
because
okay.
there was no obvious plan.
Yeah, try to get ahead of it before December.
Okay. Finish them to start. So this would be, what are we up to, FY '23 assessment? Is that what
Yeah.
they discussed? Okay, yeah.
Ooh,
Any other changes to the minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah, section 2, bullet D.
2D, okay, go ahead.
yeah, George, I agree.
Well, the second sentence, George clarifies that any expenses that are paid out using school choice revenues would be reflected on the same line. What it should say is would be decreased from, well, would be reflected in the school expense line, would be, it's subtracted from the school expense line. And that's why that's the same line that we're referring to. We're referring to the school's budget. So I would say that clarifies any expenses that are paid out using school choice revenues would be applied to the school budget line.
To the school budget line. Okay,
Can you say that again so I can understand it, maybe, George, please?
Yeah, when the school presents us a budget, they give us their full request of showing how they're going to spend money at every level. And then at the bottom, they subtract from that all their grant funding. And then they get a new number. So if they got $2 million and they got 100,000 in grant fund, so they request $2 million, they lay it out where they're going to spend it all in the detailed sheet. Then they say, just throw a number out, $10,000 in grant money coming in different sources. And one of those sources could be school choice. Those all get subtracted from that $2 million, and the budget request and the budget is something lower, 1.9990 in my example.
Okay, this is why, George, this is why I brought it up, is because that is not what happened last year. That money was not subtracted or not supporting the budget. The school choice revenue did not. That is why I brought the issue up. That is why Susie and I have been looking into this, and we've investigated how other towns handle this. But in fact, it did not happen in Shutesbury last year, and that is one of the reasons it was a concern to me.
Oh, so may I ask you, did we actually use school choice funds last year?
so
We
would be is the verb that clarifies that.
Let me just say, we've been generating school choice revenue for several years now. I recall, I think it was 17 or 18, the first year that we started to do that. And we've never applied it to support the budget yet. And I think it's been an issue for me from day one. And that is why I'm still concerned about it. That's okay.
But we haven't applied it on that line because we haven't used it. But if we were to use it to cover their operating expenses, we wouldn't show it as a negative.
Well, I think we should. That's my position. So, we'll talk about this later, I guess. But as far as the note in the minutes go, I don't know. I brought up that there was no entry for revenue, and you said that the revenue would show somewhere else, I believe, in our budget, and it does show up in our budget, but not in the school budget.
What I said was, when we apply money to the operating budget, we decrease the amount of money that they're requesting to get to the amount that we put in the budget. So if we're going to apply $10,000 of school choice funds to the operating budget, and their operating budget's $2 million, we're only going to ask the voters to approve 1.990 because that $10,000 is already going to be applied based on a vote prior to town meeting to apply those funds. And so we present to the town a budget that reflects those funds being used, when or if we do, of course. And the school presents a budget and the grants and the money that decreases their request, and I would expect that that would be in there. That's what I was saying. Whether I'm right or wrong, somebody else.
Okay, good. That's exactly what I believe. So I think that could be reflected in the minutes. If you were saying that, that would be fine with me. Because I think that makes sense. What is written there doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'd like to hear what Becky's perspective is.
Yep.
Okay, so the first year we got choice money, I added it to the revenue side. And I was admonished by of the general town budget. I added it to this side and included it in the total. I was admonished by our accountant that what I did was illegal. The town has no authorization to allocate those funds as a town. Only the school can authorize those funds, and they only do it through the school budget.
Makes sense. So the amount that they think they're going to spend, they subtract that from that amount and they ask us for the lower amount. So
Correct.
my
That's
statement would,
exactly what happened in all the school budgets that were forwarded by Bob and Susie. You never see it. The reason I continue to identify it in the town budget is so that the public is aware that these funds exist. There's notation in that budget line that they are not included in the total revenue of the town.
I don't know if we want to have a debate at this stage in the meeting. We're talking about the minutes. Just what George said is what I would like to clarify, okay?
well, that's the way it's done, right? It's even the documents you send showing Leverett and Pelham, they're taking their requested amount, they're subtracting all the funds that come in, including school choice, and there's the budget amount. That's the mechanism. This is not even a debatable item, right?
Well, let me just say, George, it has not been in the school budget at all as revenue.
That's because they chose not to apply it.
Suggestion, why don't we just, for now, focus on the minutes and get accuracy on the minutes. We have school choice on the agenda later on in our meeting.
I'm talking about the mechanism, Bob.
Yeah, the current reading that I have here is George Arvanitis clarifies that any school expenses that are paid out using school choice revenues would be applied to the school budget line. Is there anything else that needs to be added to that item? Again, this was in the context of looking at reviewing an expense report.
That sounds good.
Okay, George, anything
That was
else?
my only comment. Thank you.
That's all you had for minutes?
Yes, everything looked
Anybody
good.
else? Any changes? Let's focus on any changes or comments regarding changes to the minutes. No one else? Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes as modified.
So moved.
I second.
Okay. Vote. George?
Urbanitis, aye, sorry.
Right here, aye.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosher, aye.
Walton, aye. Okay. Draft letter, this is what Susie was just commenting on. Susie sent us a draft letter a couple of days after our August 10th meeting. As we all agreed during the August 10th meeting. Do we want to take a look at that and come to a consensus on going forward to the school committee with that, the select board? Susie?
I wondered if the select board reviewed it and had any comments too. That would be part of our discussion.
I'm sorry, they have not done that as yet.
Okay, so that draft was also sent to the school committee and the select board?
I don't remember if I sent it to the school committee.
No,
I believe I sent it to the select board and the FinCom.
Can I interrupt here for a moment, Jim?
Sure.
We on the finance committee formed a subcommittee for the finance committee to look into a statement to be made regarding this issue. This certainly will involve the select board and the school committee when the town formulates its policy regarding school choice revenue and how.
Okay, timeout. We're not talking about school choice right now, Bob. This is a different letter.
Oh,
This- Yeah.
This is the
this
regional
has-
school letter, Bob.
oh, the regional school. Oh, I apologize. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, guys, I'm having a hard time locating the letter. Can someone tell me when that email was sent?
I think
August 12th.
August 12th.
And who did it come from?
Me.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't have it. Yeah.
I don't have it either.
It looks like it was sent to the select board, Becky, and the finance committee.
Oh, and the finance committee address. So if Jim didn't forward.
Forward it, then we didn't get it.
everybody-
Or we got it from Jim a couple days later, maybe. I don't see it.
Yeah, I
Don't
don't
see it.
know.
I can forward it now.
Please.
Uh,
Jim, it might help if you put it on the screen. I have forwarded it to everyone. I think. Did that go? Was it? Oh, shoot.
So Jim already has it, I believe. He could put it on the screen while you're trying to figure out forwarding.
You
Can
know,
attach.
Yeah, the attachment failed.
yeah, I still don't have it.
Want me to do something? Run out of the room.
Jim could put it on.
You want me to put it on the screen?
Yeah.
Jim, do you have it?
Becky, you're breaking up. Or you want me to forward it?
No, just put it on the screen.
Okay, do I have access for the meeting?
I am unstable.
oh,
Oh,
That's got, that's got-
Thumbs up 2021, right?
Every time somebody will be quoting that clip. Okay, I gotta move to the hallway if I'm still here. And you can hear me.
Oh, your new office is.
My office still doesn't.
Oh,
yeah, I'll share it if you give me access, Becky.
Here I go. 1 second. Just trying not to leave the meeting.
I could also forward it to everyone else if that's not already done.
didn't get an attachment, Jim.
I did forward it. Somehow I missed the attachment. I'm gonna try again while you work on. I give you
Co-chair.
permission. Jim,
What's that, Becky?
did you put it on screen? I'm not watching.
I'm just waiting for access. Do I have access now?
Yeah, you have for a little while.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me. Can everybody see this?
yep.
I have a couple of questions, if I could just ask. One is whether we wanted to make an explicit point or recommendation that the regional school committee play a bigger role in the process? Like, is that a position that Shutesbury supports, or, and if so, is that something we would want to articulate in this letter? And I think the only other point I think is worth including in that paragraph you had about whatever the process for the FY23, so on and so forth. I think we should recommend an early start in the process as well, because we need time. And I think last year, I think one of the challenges was just that as we got later into the process, I think it just became very difficult and stressful for the different parties to kind of negotiate and come to an agreement.
I also wonder, as someone still new to the process, I wonder with that second paragraph with the ever-changing membership, I think that's good. I was wondering though about, the sort of the historical significance of why we would want to educate people on the statutory method in past agreements, because it doesn't explicitly say what the past agreement was, even though some of the people might know. There might be people like me that don't know exactly what it was. And I think if we stated in the letter, that kind of points to why we would be recommending education. Because, this has been the past agreement, maybe this would be helpful to get education on, because this is what we've done in the past and potentially going forward. Just a thought.
Susie,
To AJ's first question about the region, where was that? Find out it's in that first paragraph. We ended our discussion on the fact that the regional school committee is the one that brings the recommendation forward. And so they are the deciding for the budget, they're the deciders. So that's part of why it's written that way. And then how much this joint letter covers, I feel like the shorter the better. And we're asking them to start looking into the process and the time frame relative to our work also. So I don't think, so suggesting that there be education involved for the parts is what I put in there. And then in the next to last paragraph, whatever the process, adding an early start could fit into that list of things. Clear direction, good communication. So we can say also an early start in that paragraph.
To that point, I think it's, if I may, my points on that, whatever the process for the agreement, we hope this year's planning will improve on past efforts. It's a somewhat negative statement. I'm not sure that's necessarily something we want to say. I do think what we want to say is, and that's just me. What we do want to say, I do believe what Susie just said is really important. For me, there's not enough time on a Saturday morning in an hour and a half to hash this out. And there's too many people who don't understand the issue. So I'd like to frame it as starting this process, this educational process sooner will better prepare us for that town meeting. That's basically the statement I would like to see us make, however we make it. But I think that I say that now because Susie made the point about an early start. And I think that's really important. We want the people to be better educated on this. They clearly didn't understand the formulas. And that meeting is the wrong place to be trying to figure that out.
yeah, George, I guess I'm little confused on this. I thought that you referred to the Saturday meeting, these Saturday meetings. I'm not clear that we know that there will be such a thing as Saturday meetings to go over this process
The
in the
four-town
future,
budget
right?
meeting?
And that's,
four-town-
and that's one of the reasons for this letter, isn't it? Is to get some some input from Mike and Doug on just what the process will be.
Oh, so is there talk about not doing the four-town meeting anymore? Oh,
Okay,
No, there isn't.
Maybe not in terms of negotiating so much, but in terms of informing people what's going on in the region, that's still there.
yeah, we want to ask the people who are better prepared for the discussion regarding the impacts that the different formulas have on the budget. That's the way I personally see it. There's a lot of yelling and chest pounding at that meeting, but there were clearly a lot of people that didn't understand it.
yeah. Yeah, can we go back to Becky, your comment earlier? Did you say that there will be the meeting, the Saturday meetings, that we will be going through this process like we have in the past? Or,
Well, the purpose of the Saturday meetings will always continue because it's to try to understand if the four towns can afford to pay the budget, pay the assessment. They're about the budget and the assessment. The piece that has been added has been the assessment formula. So there will be four town meetings. Whether the formula, the assessment formula will continue to be a part of that, I imagine will have to be, because they said they were going to replace it by the regional school committee discussing it over the summer. Well, they never did. And it's unlikely they will prior to us getting back to a budget conversation. So at this point, they haven't determined how to handle it.
well, and
No.
that was the objective for this letter, I thought, is to get that, is to,
Break it
Jim,
down.
you just went.
Went out there, Jim.
It went silent.
Yeah.
You went froze.
I'm sorry, I froze?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have to repeat what you said earlier. You were
Oh, says I'm unstable. I
you're having a problem with that today.
Becky, you're contagious.
I better put on a mask.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I thought, again, that the objective I thought for this letter was to get guidance from Mike and Doug on just what the process would be to work through this four-town agreement in this next fiscal year budget. I'm sorry, George and then Bob.
When we talked about this last year, we asked Doug and Michael Morris to we wanted them to bring in the state to explain the formulas so that all these people who are throwing out these statements would have a better understanding, because they were making statements like, we can just divide it evenly based on population. What's wrong with that? That's fair. And that's the kind of education we want them to understand, why that's not fair. So we want them to understand the formula. And so I think that's what we're trying to do here, is prompt the region, as Becky said they were supposed to do it, and they didn't. Prompt the region to start that education process so that when we go into the four-town meeting, we'll have clear direction, good communication, and cooperation can yield less time and energy consuming process that will benefit us all. I think we should combine paragraph 2 and 3, take out the first part of the first sentence in paragraph 2, and then just combine them with that added component, Susie, of the start the process sooner.
Yeah. Bob and then AJ have,
Yeah, I just want to say, I think what Susie said, her draft, I think that is fine. I think that George's idea of making it a little less negative in that part is also fine. I also remember that last year, George, I think, suggested that we get the region to do some education then, and they didn't have a session that we thought would have been useful for the town council, so they could just be up to speed on this issue. They obviously were not. As far as AJ's recommendation about the regional school committee making these calls, I don't support that. I think that we on the finance committee, we have to recommend to town meeting. We should be involved in the process. We have a role to play. We don't work for as much for the school committee as much as we oversee the money that we provide them to meet their needs. So we have a different position, and we should maintain our position. It's important for us to be representing the taxpayer. And the taxpayer was one of the reasons we moved on this in the first place, to go closer to full statutory. And I'm sure this issue is still a lively one in town. Certainly is for me.
I'm certainly not suggesting that the select boards and finance committees from the various communities not be involved. I just, all I meant was that there was some discussion that the regional school committee would play a role in kind of leading the process. And I don't think it's worked very well, even though the outcome was good for Shutesbury last year. I thought the process wasn't a great process. And so I'm just curious if anybody thought that there might be some benefit to the regional school committee kind of leading those discussions among the different towns, or helping to organize them. That's all I'm asking. Of course, we have to be involved, and we need a contingent of people articulating our position.
Again, I guess coming back to the letter, as I recall, our objective in putting this letter together, and Susie volunteering to take the lead on it, was for us to get a feel for, as quickly as possible, from the regional school committee on what they were envisioning as a process for this coming fiscal year.
Yeah, it's like a nudge, right? We want them to actually start putting a plan in place, and informing the towns about what that's going to look like.
But this letter, to me, as it's written here, it looks like it meets the needs of what we were looking to accomplish during the discussion in our last meeting.
I agree. I think there was some consensus that we should explicitly say, hey, it's a good idea to get started early this time around.
Yeah.
Just
Late for that.
It would be good if everybody going into that meeting had a better understanding of the statutory method and the whole process and how this is all done. Yeah.
Can I just make one comment about this education piece? Is that I think, based on the reception that the idea and proposal of Shutesbury helping to organize an information session, I thought it went really poorly, or was I think poorly received. And so I am a little concerned. I think ideally there would be some other party. I don't know who that would be. Maybe it's the regional school committee, but I feel like it just sort of falls on deaf ears, and somehow it's also like people feel insulted by the idea that they need to be educated by Shutesbury about the process, and so, or about the history and the definitions. And so if there's some way that we could help, if there's something we could do to help ensure that education takes place, but not have it be a Shutesbury-led presentation, I think maybe it would be better received. I don't know how to do that, but.
Well, what George recommended last year was to bring in a guy from the state, from the Department of Education, and him running a session for everybody. And it wouldn't be Shutesbury running anything. We're just making the suggestion to nudge the regional superintendent to initiate that. And I think that was a reasonable idea. And it wouldn't come back as Shutesbury being educating anyone. It would be the state having a session with all the towns. Does that make, isn't that what you wanted, George?
Well, I think that's what we as a committee decided. I don't think I was the only one. I don't think that was just me. I think we all talked about
Right,
it.
exactly, right.
I think that's a very good idea. I don't think it got presented
Excuse me,
to the school committee that way. Oh, sorry.
sorry, so we asked Mike Morris and Doug to bring that to the school committee, and the regional school committee did not want to do that. They voted it down. I think Steve is on, he can maybe confirm that. So we did put that out there to do it, so it wouldn't be Shutesbury presenting, that the state would do all the educational work. And from what I recall, Mike Morris told me they weren't interested.
Okay.
Steve, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I believe that was the case, that they said no. Just flat out no.
No,
And the interesting thing is when Becky just called me that the budget subcommittee is talking about this very same subject right now at the regional school committee.
Oh, you better get back on that one.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
there's no, I'll stay here.
It tells us how well it's going.
So Steve, are they talking about process or are they talking about like the looking at the budget numbers, or what are they talking about?
Yeah, the right now it's the process and how are we going to go about, finding out where the four towns are individually, where they are together, where the town council from Amherst is. Yeah, so it's all about process.
Good. Too bad we didn't get this letter to them before this. Bye.
Steve, are they considering no longer holding like the December 4 town meeting?
Oh, that will definitely be held. Yeah, there's no that's a yes.
Okay.
So if they're involved with the process now, maybe this is an opportunity at their meeting now to get some idea of how they plan to go forward for this go around. For this 23 fiscal year 23 go around.
Yeah, Mike and Doug are gonna present some numbers to us tonight, but I'm not quite sure if they're 21, 22 or 22, 20. I'm not quite sure what they are.
When you say numbers, Steve, what do you mean? You mean budget numbers or?
Yes, budget numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Is the budget subcommittee, are those public meetings that can be viewed like regular school committee meetings?
Has to be.
No, usually I don't believe that the policies, that the subcommittees are recorded.
Okay.
There's minutes for them, but I don't believe any of them have been recorded. I'll find out tonight, though.
Thank you.
So on screen, Steve, is the letter that the FinCom was thinking about sending to the region.
Yeah, I will say that everybody has this exact same thought, that everyone is so tired of the battles that at one point last year, there was even talk from the school committee of just the school committee setting whatever the agreement was going to be and just run with it, but that never happened.
Yeah, that's what so you guys haven't done the work to figure out what to do. So it's going to be a free for all again.
Well, I think that's what because we're starting early. This is a month early for us, so I think we're trying to get ahead of that.
Great.
that is good news.
Hmm.
Maybe.
See how it goes.
But this letter actually says what everyone else is thinking.
So is that a good thing, Steve, to put something like this out to the board? And from your perspective, do you think it's a good thing?
Yes, it's an excellent thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So I think what I've heard, what I've captured during our discussion on this is the letter as it is okay, but would we like to have something in here that refers to starting the process sooner? Is that what I heard? Or- Susie?
And I want to mention that it doesn't say that Shutesbury will do the education. It just says education. And I guess at this point, it would be best to leave it open-ended like that. Doesn't say that we want to educate you. It just says education on the elements. Might be helpful for all stakeholders. So I think maybe somebody else could edit in the lines they want for starting the educational process will help people be better prepared. But I feel like I'm done, and I would switch out. I didn't know if I should do anticipates or envisions, and I think maybe envisions is a more open-ended thing. So I don't know. I feel like I've done my part, and somebody else can work on it and get it out there. But I would say getting it out there, just like the school committee, the regional school committee, it's been hard to get everything done. And so getting this out there just puts our name in the list of people that thought this was a good idea.
The education piece, that's something that I know the Amherst members have been all fired about trying to get the town council up to speed because it hasn't happened yet.
The town council is not educated on the subject matter?
They have no idea of the history. They are just totally lost.
Yeah, we noticed that in the meeting. There were
Yes.
members of the Amherst Town Council that were not, they didn't know about it. So yeah.
Yep. They don't understand the basic elements or the differences between the statutory, even at the highest level, by definition, the difference between statutory and 5-year rolling.
Right.
The regional agreement.
Well, they were even unaware that, the middle school, we took out 2 classrooms and invited LSSE in to help with some of the budget. And then we cut 2 programs that were over subscribed, and we moved the Summit Academy back into the school. They had no idea that any of that stuff was happening.
Right. That's why I had that paragraph starting with the ever-changing membership, because this definitely felt like the first year Amherst Town Council, the 13 members were looking at something and going, what? So that was why that line was in there.
Yeah. Becky, did you have your hand?
I figured out my question for Steve. Thank you.
Okay.
I thought he was talking about the attorney for a second, so I was like,
Yeah, town council, exactly. It does get,
That'd be a little scary too.
the town council probably doesn't understand it either, Becky, though.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
they might not be stable either.
Join the crowd. All right. So as I understand, we have a letter here, and I think George in particular, you had some suggestions for some verbiage around starting the process sooner.
Well, I just thought we should melt paragraph 2 and 3 together, but eliminate the first sentence in paragraph 2. So it would end with helpful for all stakeholders and start with clear direction, good communication. That along with edit about starting the process sooner. Because I did think the first sentence in this 3rd paragraph was, I mean, we all know it could use improvement, but I don't know if I'm going to say that. That's just my opinion.
George, could you make those changes so we could see them? I had a hard time imagining it.
So what it would say is, with the ever-changing membership on the volunteer boards and staff involved, education elements in statutory method and past experience might be helpful for all stakeholders. We would like to start this process sooner so that people are more prepared for the 4th town meeting. Clear direction, good communications, and cooperation can yield a less time and energy consuming process. So I put the 2 together, and I would replace whatever the process is for FY23 sentence with an early start to understanding the various methods prior to the four-town meeting, you know, we're asking if you would consider you know what I'm trying to say? Just want to make the point that starting the process, but I really want to make the point that people should have a better understanding of the methods prior to the four-town meeting. So I would want to replace that, whatever the process is, with a statement that says, early start, educating everybody on the various assessment methods prior to the four-town meeting. We would like to recommend, we're asking if you are going to consider, or we would like you to consider an education process prior to the four-town meeting, again, about the assessment methods. And then clear communication, cooperation will yield a less time and energy consuming process, right? So that's what my vision is. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I think what we need to do, because this is a letter that we need to approve, and then it has to go, and the select board's gonna look at it. Maybe just type it in, type what you want, and
Word?
Whose screen is this right now? Is this Jim's or?
George, I'm gonna make you a co-host.
Okay, and I'm gonna stop sharing.
yeah.
Okay, so then we can put George's on there and he can type in the
Yeah, because I'm confused
changes.
which paragraph he wants where. I'm sorry, George.
No, that's fine. You know, this is just one person's opinion. I don't want to take over the whole conversation, but all right. So tell me when I can share the screen.
You can share it now.
Oh, boy. This one. No, that one.
Excuse me.
Nope, I got the wrong one. Hold on. This one, can everybody see the joint draft to?
Nope, that's not it.
That's a school choice.
Yeah, all right. Because I couldn't read, it shows you the small screen and I can't read them. Let me go back. I'm gonna stop sharing and then I'm gonna share again.
Okay.
Where's the stop share? It's not showing up on my thing.
Stop
I'm
video.
sorry.
Go to the share. Oh,
I don't see the share button that I saw when I did this. God damn these things. Oh, there it is. I see it. All right. New share. This one right here. Okay, so here's what I would do. I would eliminate this. So the school committee, the regional school committee. If you let me write this 100 times, I will write it 100 different ways.
That sounds productive.
hmm.
Yeah, you got to stop me is my point.
Okay. Let's have,
So respectfully request that the regional school committee meet to understand the basic workings of the various assessment methods.
But I don't think that's where you want to take this.
Okay, but all right, so we can refine it so that
It's not the
Yeah.
regional school committee that needs to better understand the basic workings.
right, that's a good point. Request
We
that.
had it up above that we knew all the people that involved could be educated.
Request that, right. That
Stakeholders from all four towns.
yeah, that's great.
Well, we have the word stakeholders in the previous sentence.
Oh, we do.
We could,
well,
I
we can
think
replace the word.
you had something like starting the educational process early will help people become better prepared for the four-town meeting. That's kind of a simple.
Yes, that the region say it again, please.
Start the educational process early, so people will be better prepared for the four-town meeting.
Yes, that's right. And that leads into,
Then you can delete that next part and then, yeah, then we're already up. to
and that
clear
leads
direction.
into clear direction, communication, blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
That sounds good.
You just gotta add,
All right, I'm gonna send this back to everybody. Or,
It's right on the screen. We can see it.
yeah,
Can you
that's true.
change one more word before you do? The first paragraph, it says for the regional budget apportionment, could we say assessment? Are people okay with assessment agreement as opposed to apportionment?
Sure.
I agree with that.
And we need to take out the word anticipate and just leave it envisions.
Where is that?
First paragraph, it says anticipate and it says envisions. I prefer envisions.
Oh, it's in the paragraph. In
Yeah.
the parentheses.
Like so.
Mhm.
then George, in your paragraph,
Yes,
it's, we respectfully request that the region start the educational process.
thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I think this is what we were all really reaching
Yeah.
for. All right, I'll send this back to the whole committee.
Why? We can
Well,
just say we
agree
approve
with
it.
Vote on it there.
Oh, okay.
But
So-
if you do, send it to me to take to the select board.
Yeah.
You got it.
And
to Steve to take to the school committee.
I don't know if I have Steve's email address.
you can send it to Becky and she can send it.
Yeah, I
out.
can forward it.
Okay. All right,
And you
let me
can
stop
take-
sharing. I will send it shortly, Becky.
Okay, by sending it to all of us, that implies that we're all okay with this?
I
We're
make a
all-
motion, we agree to this letter.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I'd like
I
to
second
get,
that.
I'd like to get Steve's input too, and whether, Steve, I don't know if you've seen the latest. Okay, I get, there's the input. All right.
Mhm.
Unless there's further discussion, we can vote.
Yeah.
George,
See you
All
later.
right, sorry, I'm sending this to Becky.
multitasking, George.
Yeah, obviously I can't do that.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Susie,
Sorry, Cashew, aye.
Mosier, I.
Walton, aye.
You got that done. Whew.
All right. So the next steps, that goes to the select board and the school committee for their review.
Yeah.
And then once they review, then it gets moved on to the district.
Should we have just do you want everybody to sign it or just the chairs of the committees?
For time, whatever's the fastest. The
Well, if I
chair.
start now, I can make a signature page for all three committees and you can all start coming into town hall.
I'll be in.
Yeah, the more signatures, the more it might stand out to the district,
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
you know. If everybody's okay with that,
sure, fine.
Yep.
you know.
Becky, I sent it. Let me know if you don't get it.
Okay.
So
When
Becky,
will-
you'll let us know when it's ready to be signed, because I guess
Yes.
you gotta get approval
Yeah,
from
don't,
them.
it won't be ready in the morning probably, so,
Well, the select board has to look at it too. Does it, do they?
yeah, but the signature page is, I mean, if they want to make an edit, then hopefully you guys will like their edits.
We will.
Uh.
I do.
Oh, geez. All right. Susie, thanks for taking the lead on.
Yeah, you're
on
welcome.
all
Yeah,
this.
thank you, Susie.
Okay, we can move
Becky-
on.
Becky, when will the signature page appear at Town Hall?
Friday morning, I'm gonna be out tomorrow at a small town administrators meeting, so it'll be Friday morning.
Beginning Friday morning, okay,
But you'll send us a reminder.
good, okay.
Okay, next item, and I think we've already warmed up on this item, is is an update from the school choice funding subcommittee, which is Susie and Bob have been working together over the last couple of weeks or a number of weeks. And some of the output from their work was forwarded. I think I forwarded it yesterday. I think Susie, you put something together that you and Bob worked on. And then I forwarded that to the committee yesterday.
Mhm.
I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at any of that yet, but I don't know, maybe start with Bob and Susie to frame up, where we are today.
Go ahead,
I
Susan,
want-
you first.
I want to just say that this statement that we don't come to agreement on, I'm not sure that it's even necessary, because what we have is some samples from other towns, and Bob's been talking to Dan Hayes and keeping him abreast of what what's going on. For me, the goal is to get the school committee some information so they can draw up this policy and start planning on how to use school choice funds. And the towns that we looked at have a way of doing that. And so my idea was just we send them this information. I had heard from Dan at the last school committee meeting, which must have been in June, that he was thinking about how to do it. And I had asked them during the year to think about it, but you can imagine what kind of year it was. So I feel like they're ripe and ready to do this. I'm not sure that we need any more instructions to them. I would say that if we see them doing what we expect, which is applying some school choice revenue into their budget for whatever reasons like the other towns do, we're all set. And so I'm not sure that I need to spend a lot of time debating more than that, because I'm pretty sure once they see what other towns do and where they're at now, they're going to do it. And we don't need to beat them with a stick.
Did you have your hand up, Becky?
Just slightly, I know they did start working on the construct main elements criteria for a policy last year. I know, but it's, so when they made their decisions about how to spend some of their school choice money, they were following some principles that they had put together.
Yeah. And that's what you can see in the other towns' efforts, Hadley, Union 38. I got one from Greenfield. I talked to somebody in Pelham on the school committee. They all have a way of seeing this that I think would be fine.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I just want to, Susie and I have met, I guess, what, 2 or 3 times now? 3 times?
3.
Yeah, and we both did homework separately and talked to different people. One of the things we established is that all the towns that we talked to do use, and I learned some things about that I didn't know last year. They all use the school choice money to support the budget of the school. The school budgets are prepared. In the case of Pelham and Amherst, it's the regional financial director that prepares it with the school committee. And then that budget is presented to the finance committee. And there's plenty of communication during the budget building process between the select board, finance committee, school committee, and probably the regional staff as well. So it's a team effort. It's not simply the one figure, one person, or one organization, whether it be the school committee, school administration, or whatnot, has complete control over it. It's a team effort. There's a lot of different interests involved. But most of the towns, or all the towns, do use the money, and it's in a revolving account, as Becky said. It's not the same as the regular revenue that supports the budget, but then again, neither are other grants that support the budget. But the revolving account in most of the towns generally leaves 1 year's income in the account to cover an unexpected decline in choice revenue in the future. But the point that I wanted to make was that we on the finance committee have a role to play in this. And that's what Susie and I had some disagreement on very few things about this, what we learned. But one of the things we did disagree on was my emphasis that the finance committee has a role to play, providing guidance and some kind of parameters to any town department, including the school. So I would like to, maintain that. The message that we were going to send was encouraging the school committee to come up with a policy and how they manage it, which I think is proper, and that reflects an agreement between Susie and I that comes from them. But it does also reflect, our statement reflects the fact that the finance committee is and I use this word watchdog, and Susie objected to that word, but I can send the whole FinCom state guidelines for FinCom. In the first paragraph says the finance committee is the watchdog for the taxpayers over town departments and allocations. So yeah, that is our role. That is the word that's used in the state guidelines for the finance committees. And I'm not saying it's going to be some kind of contentious relationship. It's just that we have a role, and it's a different role than the other departments, the select board, the school administration and whatnot. So I want the disagreement we had was, I said, all towns have a policy to manage school choice revenue. And Susie said all school departments, did you say, or school committees? So that was a very small, it seemed like a small disagreement, but it just reflects what I tried to just explain.
Okay, I think Susie and then Becky.
So we did not have any, the only evidence that finance committees and school committees and a team approach happens is Bob's conversation with John Trickey. And then we see it in budgets, but we don't know how it got there. All the information I found was saying the school committee makes these choices. So that is our disagreement, Bob and I want to say it's the school committee. And so in my statement, I put that in, and it may seem like a small amount, or a small difference, but I did not have evidence in Union 38, which is Deerfield or Hadley or Greenfield, or what Sarah Hall from Pelham thought. All of those are positing or positioned this as a school committee process. And that's where I want to send it to our school committee. And I believe they're going to send us back a policy that states how they want to use it. And I bet they'll do it just like everybody else, which is to retain some money. The guy from Deerfield, Darius, said, you budget in the rear. You use the money from the previous year's allocation and you don't overspend. And they all have those principles. And that's what Becky was saying, that the committee was coming up with some principles, the school committee, about under what circumstances should you spend that money. So we're just urging them to move forward and put that policy out. And I did not get from any of the ones that it's a finance committee team effort.
See,
I think Becky, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, so Bob, you still, do you think that the policy on use of school choice funds should be a town policy? A select board approved policy, not a school committee policy?
I say that the school committee, in the words of the US political class, the school committee proposes and the finance committee disposes. We review all budget requests and we work in close coordination with all departments to provide them with the resources that they need based upon our ability to come up with that money. And part of that equation is the revenue, which is new to Shutesbury, so that's why we're just addressing it, the revenue that comes from choice in. So choice out is in our budget and choice in is not in our school budget at all. It is in the Pelham budget. Choice in is, now I didn't know that none of that money has been spent to date, but that money, there's a considerable amount of money in that account now. The money will be spent, and which should be, my point has always been that what money is spent should be in the budget and should support the budget. That's all. That is,
could we go back to my question? My question is, do you see the school choice policy being written by town officials, not school committee members?
No, I see the school committee and the school coming up with a policy that we approve of, that we like. I
Wait,
mean,
wait, how can, if it's a school committee policy, the finance committee has no approval of it?
I don't know what your, I don't have an obsession with policy as a document or as a written word. What I want to show is that the school choice money is accountable. That's all. That's their job to provide, to present a budget request to the town, to the finance committee for review. That's their job. You're right. They, whatever policy they might construct to do that is up to them. Exactly. But we need to make them aware that we expect them to have one. That's all. And we will review their budget and we want that money to be accounted for.
Okay, so a policy is one thing, but it might not create the results you in particular are looking for.
I feel that what the other towns do is a very reasonable thing. This is, we're not inventing anything here. Other towns have had to deal with the choice issue longer than Shutesbury has. We've only been in the game for a little while. There's a whole different discussion about whether choice is good for the town or not, but I'm not getting into that. I'm just getting into the financial aspects of dealing with it while we are in it. And I think that, I think it's pretty clear that all the towns that are using choice revenue have it in their budget every year, and we had not seen that. And you know, that's something I want to see.
Okay,
So I propose that we just ask them to do it, and we don't need a statement. We just, and you have already asked them, Bob. I mean, you've already talked to Dan. This is
Yeah, well,
not,
I've been talking about this for a while, and Dan seemed very receptive to it.
so just let them do it.
But he
Just
said
keep
they're
it-
not going to talk about it till their meeting in this month, I guess, you know.
Yeah, so just let them do it. That's what I say. And I'm sure that they're gonna do something that you'll be very happy with, and we don't need to, it just is.
Okay, well, you know, Susie, I don't want to, you're the one who suggested we come up with a statement, so we had problems agreeing on it.
I did not. I did not. I didn't even care. I just wanted to send them the packet, and you said we needed a statement. And then the issues that underlie that, the difference between saying the town and saying the school committee resurfaced after our first two meetings. So I would just say, just send it to them. We don't need a statement. And I bet they're gonna come up with something that will be just fine.
George,
So Susie, as a representative to the school committee, would it be practical, would it be reasonable for you to say that the finance committee would like the school committee to develop a framework or a policy, a draft policy on how to manage the school choice funds? And we would actually like to see that policy prior to or when the school budget is presented to us.
Yeah, that's
Or-
what my first statement said, and it was very, very small, very, very thin, because Bob thought we should have a statement. I made a very small statement, said that. But in the meantime, Bob has been talking to them. I had talked to them last year. I know they're trying to get there.
Yeah.
By saying this little statement and sending them information from other towns that say how they do it, I believe they're gonna do it. But, you know, even, and I thought this would be easy. It will be easy, but we already have the school year getting tangled up with COVID and sweat and projects not finished. So yeah, just like everybody other volunteers, it's going to be hard to get everything done. But that's why I wanted to send the packet out back on August 18th. But then the idea of having a statement ended up holding this up.
I think AJ had your hand up and then Bob.
It seems like we're arguing over a solution to a problem that doesn't exist yet. So can we just share the packet of documents and maybe suggest a time frame? Like, would it be possible for the school committee to draft its principles, you know, by the end of the year and share that with, I don't know, and then just let them do their work of actually developing the policy.
Let me just say, if I may, the statement that I drafted, which was an edit of Susie's original statement, is about 3 sentences or 3 paragraphs long. It's very short. I mean, if you send them the packet, you have to send a note explaining what it is. This is essentially what the statement is.
You
It's
already,
not
you
a
already
treatise.
talked to them.
Hold on, Susie, please, let me speak. It's not a treatise, it's not a long explanation or argument or anything. It's simply a statement, very short, concise statement. And I use the word towns instead of school committees. So
And
that's a
where
minor
it's the
disagreement.
problem.
I'm sorry, Becky, did you,
I'm sorry, but that's why Bob's statement, the only word that's a problem is when you refer to the authority of the town, when the authority on this issue rests with the school committee. That's the crux of it. And until we respect that, we're gonna be hitting a wall and having a disagreement on this committee too. But
On this committee.
that's the law, and you've got to work, to work as a team like we always strive to do with a school committee. That's where you have the conversations, but they, acknowledging they have that. And, I talked to them whether, they could use school choice money for this or that. I mean, it's a question. It's not a demand or an instruction. It's their choice and they're figuring it out because it's new to them too. But I think the statement that uses town and not school committee, just like confusing, a town policy is approved by the select board versus a school committee policy. And it's not a big deal. And I understand why Bob is focusing past it. But if you use that in your statement, it throws things askew.
I don't believe it does because I do believe that the finance committee has a role, a very important role in this, and the town as a whole manages its budget as a whole. And part of that, of course, the most expensive part of that, and probably maybe the most important part is the school budget, which is what, 2/3 of our budget. So yeah, we have an interest in this. We represent the taxpayers. The school represents its own institution, and it's the school committee that works with them. They have a different role, they have a different perspective, and the select board is a third perspective. So it's all good, it's all important, and there's a slight variance in perspective, which is beneficial to the outcomes, I think. But we do,
But I think, yeah.
we have a
But
role.
when you do not respect the authority of different parties, then in an opening statement, it doesn't help create the team.
I guess I can't see my statement in front of me, but I didn't say anything that was disrespectful whatsoever. I said
No,
all
by
towns.
just- But yeah, by just the way you focus on town instead of school committee, that's small.
I don't understand your objection to that. I really don't.
It's,
The same one I had. I spoke to you very clearly about this. So we have a disagreement.
We just said all schools utilize or use a portion of school choice revolving funds. Would that work for you, Bob? Or?
No, he didn't like that.
Sorry, I really think that the disagreement between Susie and I, if I may elucidate it, is that she told me she thought the school was autonomous and that that the finance committee had no business interfering with them. And I disagree with that. I say we allocate money, we represent the taxpayer. So our allocations can reflect all the different revenue streams that the school has. And so we're part of the process. I don't see that the school is autonomous. It's part of the town government. We are responsible for overseeing the building of our budget. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that towns handle this in this way. I don't see that it's in any way disrespectful or usurping their power or anything like that. It's simply a statement, a bland statement of truth.
Susie,
So because this was going to be a document sent to the school committee, asking the school committee to take some action and framing the action relative to how other towns do it with their school committees. That's all I want to do. I don't want to get into setting the autonomy issue in the middle of this, because I believe what we can do is get a policy from the school committee that will help utilize funds, which always the FinCom is glad to see.
Okay, one more suggestion. What if it just read all towns and their school committees use a portion of school choice revolving funds to support their annual budget?
I'm in for that. Sullivan,
That's good for me.
I'm okay with it.
make a motion, we support that note accompanying our documents.
Second,
AJ, can you lay that out there again?
So just for this is just the one sentence that was holding us up here. So all towns and their school committees use a portion of school choice revolving funds to support their annual budget.
It's a statement of fact.
All right, so if that's a motion, Bob, I'll second it.
Was that a motion, Bob?
Yes,
And it is seconded. Any further discussion? Okay,
Arvanitis, aye.
Melody, I think she is,
I'm
might
you.
have stepped away.
Let's,
uh, Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Mosher, aye.
Walton, aye.
Okay, so I will edit that statement. I'll put it with a packet of information. I'll send it to the school committee this week.
Melody, I don't know if you just heard that last piece. We just voted on a modified letter. So you missed the vote.
Oh, apologies. I had a porcelain break.
Uh-oh, okay. Yeah, AJ made a proposed change to the verbiage that met the needs all around. And we voted unanimously to accept that modified verbiage.
Thank you. I support the FinCom's decision.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Susie, for working through this very time-consuming issue for a long, long time. And seems like we're making progress. And hopefully sometime in the coming months, the school committee will come up with an approach that works for all of us, and we'll move on. And we'll have to come up with some other topics for our lengthy discussions during our finance committee meetings.
we'll come up with something.
Yeah, there are plenty of them, believe me.
Yeah.
Okay, next item. Town revenue expense, long-range modeling forecast. So this is something we talked about quite a bit during our last meeting when we went through the list of items, the longer-term items that we as the finance committee need to work through. And we targeted this meeting to go through this long-range model. But I talked with Becky. Go ahead, Becky.
I came up short on time. I don't have, I have a draft started, and I didn't get it to George. So I'm not ready to present that tonight. My apologies, but I don't have it done.
Okay. All right, so is this something we want to aim for our next meeting?
Sure. Can we do that, Becky?
Yeah, I think that's doable.
Okay. Maybe just to help with this process, would we expect to have our next meeting? Maybe we just move ahead to this agenda item. Should we plan our next meeting for 2 weeks from yesterday, from Tuesday?
21st.
21st?
Yep,
Um,
yep, that's on the schedule.
Yeah, George.
I may not be able to help Becky next week. From the 12th to the 18th, Becky, I'm not going to be available to help you. So if we're talking about a meeting on the 21st, I'm not going to be able to help you get that completed before then.
What's Friday? So hopefully are you around Friday?
Yeah, Thursday, tomorrow or Friday are good. I've got appointments in the morning, but I'm around. Especially Friday. I think Friday, my schedule's pretty loose.
Okay, great.
Melody,
Yeah, I'm sorry to interject here, but I have a class for work that meets on Tuesday nights until December. So
Oof.
I don't know what that means. You know, I just wanted to give a heads up. I mean, tonight worked out great because it's Wednesday, but
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, what's the general, any feedback? I mean, I just know in general, Tuesdays are a key date for our meetings, just because of the timing and coordination with select board, other groups, Becky's schedule.
Melody, what time is your class the whole evening, or is there any time you might?
it's 7 to 9.
It's 7 to 9.
Yeah.
I don't know, with everybody going back to work and stuff, the select board has been meeting 5:30 and on. I don't know if that's something.
I mean, is it possible to take a hiatus for the class, or is that done usually, or?
There is a requirement for people to attend meetings. Where is that? That's in our bylaw,
Mhm.
our FinCom charge.
Right, is there a provision for a hiatus, or?
No, I don't.
And I don't mean to hijack the meeting. I mean, if this is something I need to speak with somebody offline about, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I just thought of, I don't know. One idea I had before Bob speaks was, I don't know if you were to like watch, I think we're gonna be still on Zoom, so you could watch recordings and follow up with people. I don't know what people think.
Well, some of the classes are by Zoom. I can't do 2 Zooms at once.
No, I mean, we have recordings of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, Bob,
Suggest that we schedule a meeting for Wednesday and 22nd, maybe, if that's the Wednesday. I don't have the calendar in front of me. And then maybe investigate then what a good, if there's any way we can change our meeting dates to accommodate Melody's schedule in the future. So that, you know, we could have her participation without, you know, she's got a commitment. So if we just schedule the next meeting where she can make it, if she can make it on Wednesday, then we could maybe sort out a better schedule that would allow her to at least attend some of our meetings, because I think that my understanding of the FinCom rules is that members they can't miss over a third of the meetings. I think we would value your participation in any case, but I think if we could accommodate you to get you involved in the process of building the budget, that would be better from my point of view than losing out on your
And
participation.
let me just apologize to the committee. I'm very sorry. I was disappointed to see that was scheduled for Tuesday nights.
But is that okay with the rest of the committee to meet on Wednesday, that 22nd instead of the 21st? Does
I can do it.
that work?
Sure.
Works for me.
So maybe we could all do whatever research we need to do to see if we could permanently move our meeting night, our standing meeting night, to Wednesdays. So if we could think about that in advance of the next meeting.
I'm okay with that. I would just say through December until Melody is available. And also there might be an occasional Tuesday where we have to meet, because that's when the select board is meeting or some other committee is meeting, and we have to make that. So try to dance around Tuesday and stay away from it as often as we can. But there will be times when we're going to have to meet on Tuesday, I think, once or twice.
Yeah. Well, it ends December 7th, so.
Well, that's good.
What's that noise? That
Sorry,
sounds good
there's
to me.
Melody.
So we're on for the 22nd and maybe Wednesdays until the 7th, unless we have a Tuesday.
Okay.
yeah, and if
Everyone,
someone
thank
in the
you.
meantime, I think was that to George's point, is in the meantime, if someone looks like Wednesdays are going to be a challenge, let's make sure we talk about that at our next meeting.
Well, what I said was, there's gonna be an occasion where we might meet with the select board who meets on Tuesday, and there's nothing we can do. We'll have to post our meeting on that Tuesday.
Yeah.
Becky, do you have a Wednesday group that you meet, a general meeting?
Building committee.
All right, because we're gonna meet next Wednesday, I hope, and then we could switch to Tuesday. So unless that's an issue, now that the finance committee is not gonna be meeting, that will open up a slot there, so,
Well, they could meet on the not Wednesday that we meet.
sure. But anyway, yeah, I think that would work for me. I mean, Wednesday, the 22nd is up, penciled in now.
Okay.
6:30?
Yeah,
Always.
sounds good.
Okay. And George, Becky, you'll have a chance to meet before then. So we can include this agenda item on the next meeting.
Now we have one more day.
Some
on
extra
that.
days. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Might be helpful because I have an all-day meeting tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Next item, expense report review. Becky, you sent us out that this evening or this afternoon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I-
FY 22.
I haven't had a chance to look at it myself.
Yeah, either have I just received it, so.
Maybe we can go through it for a bit.
Do you want to put it on the screen?
You want to put it up?
That would be great if you would.
I could do that.
There's just a couple things that when you look at it, you go, what is that? So just one or two things.
Okay, I still have access.
So does
Okay,
the-
let's see. Oops. Why is it showing that format? Can everybody see?
We format, yeah.
Not quite the whole thing. Could you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm working on that. Let me see if I can change the format here. Is that readable for everybody?
Yep.
So Becky, this looks like it's from September 2. This is data as of September 2.
Well, it's actually through the 10th.
But we
If I
haven't
look
had
at the
the
bottom, if I look at the bottom of the pages,
But if you look at the top, it's July 1st through September 10th.
But we
so
haven't had the
like-
10th.
Yeah, but it's all the warrant articles that were approved and will be
Yeah.
paid on the 10th.
Okay,
For that time period. So all the payrolls that went with this time in this last payroll warrant. It's always confusing, but that's the date that is the end of the year and the beginning of the year. So it has to have some value.
so what's that date on the bottom, the September 2?
It's when when it's first run. I mean, they post everything and then it takes about 10 days or 8 days to process. So they run all the payments on the warrants and then they go through the approval process with the signing by the select board, and then they get mailed out the following Monday. So,
Okay,
so the actual money is not released to the public until that following Monday, like the 10th. Well,
okay. So it's the spending as of the 2nd, but the approval of that spending is several days later.
right.
Okay,
I know, it doesn't make, yeah, it's confusing.
Well, yeah, but I think that still matches up with what my understanding was. If we look at these numbers, they're really numbers that reflect actual spending through the 2nd of September. And that spending was just approved more recently. Yeah, George.
So what we're looking at, if we also look at the budget for the year, which I can't see the column heading, but it's one of these columns. If you could just scroll up to the top of the page where we can see the heading. So we got the original budget, we got the revised budget, and the revised budget. I assume that original is equal to revised. Usually we have the previous year's balance showing and we show the revised budget. Is that not been done yet, Becky?
It happens as soon as when it's closed, the final closing is done.
And that's not
It
happened
usually
yet.
doesn't,
October, I thought we said.
the only time you see things in the previous year's balance is when we close out and the carry forwards are listed there. That has not happened yet.
Okay, they're not final. Okay.
They're not final. So if you look at the assessor's line, let's see.
The reval line?
Yeah, the reval line, that's not there yet. That hasn't been processed. When that happens, it usually means that everything's, like free cash is about to get certified and that column gets filled in when the closing for the year is certified.
And my other question would be then, yeah, I was gonna ask, so we're not, the final expenditure report for FY21 is not complete.
Oh,
So obviously,
hey guys, Marcus has to set the police alarm, so I'm gonna mute myself while he does it. It's really loud.
Thank
cover
you.
your ears.
So are there any numbers that jump out?
I don't have any questions myself.
I thought the,
It's calming down a little bit. In the public works section, Jim, under waste disposal lot 032.
Waste disposal.
Yeah, it's on page 3, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which line?
Waste
got it.
disposal
92.
lot 032. So we have that, we have money in another budget that hit the wrong lot 030. I mean, she put it in this budget, but we have money set aside in one of the funds where that will come out of.
Okay.
Everybody is probably aware that the cinder block building has been removed and there's been intensive cleanup by the highway department, and we've cleaned up 5 dumps on that site. And now we're doing some soil boring and testing that the library is providing. I just added two borings that are back behind the front 4 acres where there were 2 dumps. So I'm going to be testing back there, but I had money set aside from a grant and from another, we had set aside $15,000 a while back to clean up lot 032. So that's where the funding is coming for all this work. We spent about $6,000 on the asbestos removal prior to tearing down the building. And now we're going to have probably around another $2,000 in dumpster fees or more. It might be $4,500 in total. We've got a third dumpster almost full. And I have to get rid of 100 tires. But I figured that would jump out to you since it's not budgeted, and it will be moved, that cost will be moved to a place where it is, money is set aside for it. And that was the biggest thing I had.
Becky,
Yeah,
are there any wells that have been drilled to do testing for the groundwater in there or anything?
When the Water Resources Committee did their series of 4 wells, one was near the athletic club, the second is here behind Town Hall. The third is about halfway back on lot 030, well, about a third of the way back on lot 032. So yes, there is a test well for quantity. That one's 100 pp and it was tested this afternoon.
So it's going to be tested for effluents if there's any kind of problem with some of the dumps that are there. We'll be able to detect that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, actually, the dumps could impact the water quality, but we're testing the water and then also doing specific, there's going to be 8 soil borings tests done in the location of each of the dumps and then under the building in 2 locations.
And so if we had to do remediation, not saying we will, I hope the hell we don't. Where would that money come from?
We
Money available from the state like there was for the fire station remediation?
would have to look into it. Yeah. But there is what brownfields money available.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of it, so. But hopefully we won't. The area where we are already having trouble and have added to the library water tests is the PFAS.
Right.
We had already, like there's 6 households and entities in town in the Leverett Road area around the fire station that have high concentrations that the town is responsible for because of the foam retardant that was used by the fire department.
Oh, boy.
So we've been installing carbon filters for people at $1,500 each. And that money is coming from insurance at this point. But we're trying to locate grant money to help us. And we can use CARES money for it as well.
Really?
And is the DEP done with its part in town, or is it still testing or whatever it's doing?
They're coming back and doing second rounds of testing in areas that prove positive. The one area in town that doesn't have town support or the town's liability to help is the Old Orchard area has had, I think 4 or 6 positives that are lower than in our area, but at least half of them are above the 20 parts per trillion, which DEP is using as a guideline. So people have been putting in their own filters in that area.
Where's the Old Orchard area? Which one are you referring to? Becky?
You know where Paul Lyons lives? And
Oh, Orchard Street. Yes, oh, that's called Old Orchard? Okay.
Yeah.
I do know that road.
Yeah.
Why would there be a PFAS problem in Old Orchard?
That's
Is it?
the big mystery. They're speculating it could have been from fertilizer used, maybe, but fertilizer wasn't used on the orchard for a long, long time. So it's a mystery at this point. DEP has been able to figure it out.
Maybe pesticides, because it was a peach orchard and he did care for his trees. And so,
Yeah.
Have the footits been tested? They're right below Old Orchard.
It's a voluntary program, and it originated as a voluntary program. So I don't know. I never saw a list of all the UMass participants. About 45 people in town signed up, but they were kind of targeted by some assumptions that were made about dumps. And I don't think it went that far down the hill. I don't think people in that area were sent letters. But people have been reaching out. We did have one hotspot on Pelham Hill Road.
really, where?
Near, I think a neighbor of Mary Ann's.
Really?
Yeah.
The neighbor towards me, probably. on the same
Um,
side, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. There's never been a dump there in history as far as I know.
Yep. I don't know what could have caused it, but I know that, the Valentines and the fire department are the highest numbers we've gotten so far.
Have you tested your water?
Yep, they went by concentric circles and I was sent a letter. People in my neighborhood were sent a letter. Mine came back negative.
Good.
And across the street and up the private drive from me came back negative. So it doesn't seem like it's gone beyond Dillman's at this point.
Susie,
So the town is always having to deal with unforeseen stuff. Is there anything else that's cooking right now? I know that trying to get the culvert in and dealing with a delay there. And then I know that there's the roof and the heating system. None of those have escalated the cost that we anticipate and are prepared to deal with. Is that true?
At this point, they haven't. I think the culvert folks are very nervous. That's why I'm really pushing National Grid as hard as I can. They have committed to an essential meeting, like I told Jim in the beginning. We're hoping that if they can schedule the work next week after the meeting and it's kept to a 2-week delay, they should be able to mobilize, without too much. It's if it goes to 3 or 4 weeks that we could very well have a problem on the other end. And then, I don't have certification that all the materials that they will require are available. I will be talking to them about that tomorrow and Friday.
Them is the construction culvert construction company?
It's called MAS. Yeah, the construction company for the culvert, but they're, hopefully we can get going, before the 20th. And it will, if we can keep it to less than 2 weeks, we should be in good shape. And as far as whether it could cost money in the end, there is some potential. I've received a letter of delay, an official letter of delay, and I'm questioning their dates from the construction company. And I've talked to Donna McNichol about it. But she's feeling skeptical that we would be able to go and get money from National Grid in any recourse to their screwing up. But we'll try.
Would our legislator help in that at all?
Yep, I'm gonna be talking with her just to make sure. Well, I was about to call Natalie this afternoon when National Grid called to let me know they did set up the meeting. They had succeeded in that and they'd stopped their squabbling about method, which way they were gonna solve the problem for extending the pole. I mean, to get rid of the pole. Bob?
Yeah, just to encourage you, I had a big disaster at my house that the neutral conductor in my service went out, you recall?
Yep.
Tried all my appliances and everything, and I
Elena.
couldn't get anywhere with National Grid. And I got Natalie and the other rep, the senator, on the case, and they produced results that were very satisfactory. They were really helpful. They have a different phone number than you and I do. for
Yep,
National Grid,
yep. I guess, I got their attention anyway, so they are responding.
in response to them.
Yeah.
Becky, which construction company is doing the culvert?
MAS.
MAS,
What was that again?
MAS.
MAS? Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Becky, on the expense report you wanted to bring attention to?
Let me just double check one thing.
Or is there anything that anybody else
Yeah.
sees that they want to bring up?
Oh,
Bob, Yeah,
I wanted to ask you, the county health agent, is that Charlie Kinnicky? Is that what that line is, Becky? Page 3? Line 690 under Public Works?
Yep, it's Charlie and Claudia.
Okay, and then on page 4, what is the transfer to trust fund? I probably should know this, 512,000 some change there. That's on page 4, line 963, 64.
Transfer. Okay, I think that has to do with the culvert.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I haven't had a chance to really go through this
Yeah,
report
I'll
because
double check on that one.
it would be better for me, and I'm sure the rest of the committee, if we could somehow coordinate our getting this document better with our meetings, because, you know, it really does require some time to look over it. You know, I don't know what Gail could, when she provides these things to you, but
I received it last Wednesday, I think, or Thursday, and I was in Philadelphia, and I didn't forward it because last time I did it on my iPhone, it didn't go to everybody. I have to be, the group for my emails is on my computer, so I did it when I got back.
I understand, but maybe next time we can get it earlier. That'd be great.
I figured it was better to get it to you than not get it to you, so.
yeah, in the meantime, if we have an opportunity in the coming days to take a look, and if we see something that stands out, we can make sure to bring it up in the next meeting too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anybody else have anything, expense report wise? Okay, and I think all I have on the agenda here is committee updates.
Well, you have your, the FinCom agenda topics, and I wondered, when is the date for we send out the letter asking for budgets, sending out that little letter and the.
Yeah, I did have this update, and I think that's an item that was from our last meeting that I just didn't take off.
Where is it?
I'm sorry, did you say FinCom agenda items?
Oh, yes. So on tonight's agenda, it says FinCom agenda items worksheet update. And so I have the worksheet in front of me, and what I couldn't find, or I'm not reading correctly, is when does the letter go to the departments asking for the FY23 budget proposals?
It's usually in the early part of October.
Okay, so is it on this, is it in our schedule? That's what I'm really asking, aren't I? I guess it's not on here, so I guess we should put it on here.
Yeah, so that's something we probably need to review at the next meeting, right? A letter, Becky?
Yeah,
Okay, so that could be an agenda item for our next meeting?
yes, the budget request letter.
Review budget request letter. And do we have a template that we basically go from?
Yeah,
Last year's?
Maybe we could have that ahead of time, so we're thinking about it.
okay.
So that's for the 9/22 meeting.
Yeah. Okay, any committee reports?
No, not I.
No school? No capital? No meetings, capital planning?
Nope.
Just
Melody?
a quick request. Would it be possible to stop sharing this so we can see the faces bigger?
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you.
Nothing from the personnel board.
Police studies meeting on Thursday, tomorrow.
And unless Jim has something from
No, just,
broadband.
no, we're working on the backup system. But nothing has changed since my announcement about it last time. It's
Okay.
in the works.
Hey, Jim, I think I want to suggest that you, the MLB, start a water company. Maybe it could expand to water. Seems like we need a water company in Shutesbury now, so.
That's down to California.
We got plenty of water in Shutesbury.
But, well, we have a lot of polluted water, it seems.
A lot of polluted water too, yeah.
That'll still put out forest fires out west.
So Becky, do you know if the school water is tested for PFAS?
Yes, they were fine.
Yay.
Okay, if we don't have any other committee reports, then that's our agenda for tonight.
Just on the PFAS, Becky, is a differentiation made between shallow and deep wells on this? Any comment about that?
They track it, DEP gets all the data and they're tracking the differences on shallow and deeper wells.
Is it showing up on shallow wells more than deeper wells? I would imagine it would.
Unfortunately, the fire station has one fire station has 2 deep wells in back and both are polluted.
Oh,
And both have PFAS. There's a shallow well, I think, that has PFAS, but it's a 40. So we don't know if it's lower or higher because of a shallow or deep well.
mhm.
But
The Water Resources Committee has a shallow and deep well in all their locations, I believe.
the water resources, yeah, they have a shallow,
The
well,
deep.
the one behind Town Hall is 300 feet. It's the deepest. They have real trouble hitting water, but the others are closer to 100 feet.
I think the one near my house, I have two shallow and out deep, so.
Yeah, they have 2, but the deep one varies to where they hit water.
And was that deep
You're
one
good.
behind Town Hall tested for PFAS? The
Uh,
monitoring well?
Behind Town Hall, well, I had Town Hall tested and it was 4.5 parts per trillion, and which is, they're ignoring it at that level. For Town Hall.
Can I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second that motion.
Okay. Go ahead, George.
Carbonitis, aye.
George here, aye.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye?
Aye.
Mosier, aye.
Walton, aye.
Right.
Okay,
Good night, everyone.
thank you all. See you all in 2 weeks.
Hey, Becky,
Okay. Oh, are we meeting at 6:30 or 7?
6:30.
Okay,
6:30, 2 weeks from today.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
do you know if the library is doing that meeting tomorrow night? I had gotten,
Definitely are.
okay, I didn't see it on the calendar, so I wasn't sure if that.
Oh, that's a funny thing. They should probably have that posted on as a municipal event. Whatever. Yeah. Coordinating
This is
calendars.
a legal meeting because it's not a committee.
Right, right. But sometimes it's events.
Is there gonna, like, are they gonna send the Zoom link to
I
those
don't
folks
know
who
if they're-
register?
Yeah, check in with Mary Ann. I'm sure that she's on it.
Got it. All right, cool.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Good night, Jim. Good night, AJ.